You see, loving someone is a choice that you make daily. Husbands, love your wives. It doesn't matter if one day she may look like the glorious flowers of a rose garden, to the day when gravity takes hold of her and she no longer sparks or shines like the pearly diamond ring that you bought her years ago. But you have to make a choice to love her. You have to remind yourself that when the chips were down and when we went through hell together and when I acted a fool, you stood by me. You see, when you get past the eros into the agape, you see, your love goes to another level. You see, it's not based no longer on how you feel, but what you do. And when you practice doing what is right and pleasing in the sight of your woman, the other feelings begin to flow. Because it is not about how happy I am, because that's what they teach you in the world. You watch TV, everybody's happy. Everybody's smiling. At the end of the love story, people are happy. They glorify when people are having affairs. Make it seem exciting. They make it seem like marriage is boring. Don't believe the lie. The devil is a liar. You have to understand that love her as Christ loved the church. You see, what Paul gives to us, to the Christian husband, is more weighty than what he states to the Christian woman. Because he says, love her as Christ loves the church. Even when the church was not what it was supposed to be, he loved her. How much? He loved her enough that he gave himself for her. You see, agape is sacrificial love, to the point where you are more concerned about the other person than you are yourself. You're concerned about her when she's not feeling her best. You're concerned about her thoughts, her emotions, her state of mind. You see, when you look at Ephesians, a lot of what Paul is talking about, it is setting up a parallel between relationship of husband and wife in Christ and the church. And Paul is saying you have to be concerned about how your wife feels. You have to give of yourself. Give yourself. Not always thinking about yourself. Think about her. How will my decision impact her? Back to my thought, I got my thought back. Unity. Christ is throughout Ephesians, Paul is talking about unity of the body. Unified body. Husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church, so that we would have a unified body, not a body that's separate. One person trying to do this while the other person trying to do that. But unity in the body. Paul is trying to get the husband to think, I must be concerned about my body. She and I are one. What hurts her hurts me. What affects her affects me. And so I have to be mindful of what she is going through, because it affects me and it affects the whole family. So Paul is encouraging husbands to establish a new pattern of love, one that is not patterned after what we see in the world or culture. That is why what he says then is true now. Because the ancient world were doing their own thing. They weren't teaching about husbands, love your wife. Even today, we're not teaching husbands, love your wife. But what Paul states here transcends culture and time. Husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. It is not that he is telling you, yes, Christ went to the cross. Christ died for our sins. Now this is, I better be careful with this. Your love is sacrificial. And there, some of you will literally die for your wife. But what Paul is really trying to communicate to you is that there are times when the husband must deny himself, his time, his resources for her, to express his love and concern for her. Because we have to understand when Paul talks about headship, he is talking about leadership. He is talking about how will you lead your family. Men, how will you lead your family? How will you lead your wife? Understand, Paul is not talking about a dictatorship. He's talking about your leadership. You see, women, when you find that man, you are saying to him that I want to follow your leadership. Again, not dictatorship, but leadership. And a man's leadership should be patterned after Christ, which is sacrificial. You see, Christ gave himself, and in his giving, he humbled himself. He was a servant leadership. He did not come to be served, but to serve.